Good morning, everyone. I now call this board meeting to order. I'd like to start by asking that if you would like to address the board, please come to the microphone and identify yourself by name, title, and institution. Nicole, would you like to call roll for the board this morning?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Grayson Bigger,
Present.
Dr. Jim Carr,
Here.
Al Brodell,
Here.
Dr. Jerry Cash,
Yes.
Mr. Kelly Erstein,
Here.
Andy McNeil, Chad Hooten, and Dr. Kyle Miller are all present via Zoom.
Thank you. I'd like to start off by thanking Northwest Arkansas Community College for hosting us on their campus this morning and for their hospitality last night. Thank you, Dr. Riddle, for that reception. And we'd like to welcome our new commissioner, Mr. Ken Warden, to his first quarterly board meeting. And I believe we also have a birthday today that we need to So at this time, I'd also like to welcome our Secretary of Education, Secretary Jacob Oliva is also with us this morning. Thank you for making the trip. Being seated, just so you know, there's a white Durango outside that's left their lights on that's parked near the front. So if you think that is your vehicle, you might want to go and check on your vehicle. White Durango with their lights on outside. I'm going to go ahead and now call this meeting to order. I call on Dr. Dennis Riddle to give us the official welcome this morning.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. Just want to thank Mr. Secretary, Mr. Commissioner, and all my colleagues. Thanks for taking the time on a Friday during the summer to make the trip up here to Northwest Arkansas. I'm going to share just a few highlights about the college. Oftentimes, you know, we have an opportunity to share a little bit about who we are and what we are. It goes a long way. And I've had the good fortune of being in higher education now for 28 years. And I'm also a veteran, and I'm a VFW, and you get to see different parts of the world, but there's nothing quite like Arkansas. And I know for my family and I coming back to the state here a little more than a year ago and being able to have the opportunity to serve at this institution has been very humbling. I want to give a shout out to my colleagues who are here today. I have employees here that have been here 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years, and yes, north of 30 years. One of them was one of the earliest employees of the institution, Dr. Dean Galloway. I know he was here, and he might still be here, but he has been here. He was one of the first hires of the institution back in 1990. And so with that said, I'll share just a little bit about the college and its history, but I'm very fortunate. I have a great team. I'm very fortunate. So if we could go to the next slide, please. Oh, you want me to move it? Okay, there we go. You already had your breakfast. It's a little late in coming, I apologize, but the Wi-Fi password is not highly complicated, 1 through 8. So if you would like to leverage the campus Wi-Fi, please feel free to do so. I'm sure you found your restrooms, and also recognizing we will have a boxed lunch at the end. So this is a short promo video. It's only about 30 seconds, and she'll go ahead and play that. Thank you, Nicole.
Northwest Arkansas Community College offers an accessible and affordable education. Business leaders from across Northwest Arkansas hire NWAC students and alumni. Programs range from business, computer information and nursing to culinary, art, and many more. NWAC is ready to provide you with personalized attention every step of the way. Learn more about experiencing life-changing higher education at a better price by visiting nwac.edu.
Thank you. And here's just a couple of highlights of the institution. So there we go. So big picture, this was, of course, pandemic numbers. Now I think this past year, we're going to be looking at numbers well north of 15,000 total students that will serve. And that includes for credit, not for credit, that is workforce. We're going to serve about 3,000 this past year in workforce training. And then also adult education is about 17 to 1,800. Of our students, about 64% of them do require some form of remediation, and oftentimes that's lost. And about 1/4 of the student body requires 3 areas of remediation. Those things oftentimes are just forgotten about in the mission of the two-year schools, particularly, but all of the schools. And that is we take students where they are and we help them get to where they need to be. In addition, we have approximately 400 full-time faculty staff, and then approximately a little bit more than 500 part-time faculty and staff. You can see our most popular majors. We do have a lot of transfer students, but we also have those in the applied areas, and you'll see that most popular areas are on the upper left. We do also have a lot of workforce, and then you can see some of the new arrivals. One of them was biotechnology, and we appreciate the academic committee recommending that for approval to the full board later this morning. And we're also be looking at trails construction is going to be coming forward, as well as practical nursing in the months to come. Some of the things that we really appreciate, and I want to tout out the faculty and staff for, our NCLEX pass rates, 97%. That's 20% above the national average. They do a very good job. And we put out approximately 200 RNs a year. On the physical therapy assistant, that's 100%. That's not a typo. It's 100% for 25 years in a row. 25 years. It's the longest standing rate that we're aware of, definitely in the state, maybe in the nation. A residency here up at Northwest Arkansas, for us, that is Benton and Washington counties. Of our students, 90% of them come from these 2 counties. 95% of them, when they graduate, stay in these 2 counties. And 92% of our employees that are full-time also reside in these counties. We really much take it very close to heart that we are very much a community college, and community is our middle name. Next slide, please. This is just a little bit about the big picture for the college. Our revenue is largely generated, and this is already a year dated. And so we know for this upcoming year, it's going to be about 50% of our revenue comes from tuition and fees. We also do receive, and we appreciate the effort of the state. We have about 30% of our revenue is from the state. We do have a millage. Now, the millage is a little bit misleading because the millage, it does help us very much, but it is where we offset costs for our students who are in the Benton and Rogers school districts, Bentonville and Rogers school districts. So they save, if they complete a 2-year degree, they will save approximately $4,000 on that 2-year degree if they live in those districts, because it's offset by the millage. And so that millage isn't all received by the institution. Much of it is to offset those costs. And then you can see our expenditures, like many of our institutions, 80% of it is on salaries and benefits, with the other 20% being on M&O. Next slide, please. Economic impact for the institution, this was just completed in January of this year. It's approximately $250 million across our region. And you can, and we'll go to the next slide, and this will show a little bit about the return on investment. And this was very important to our business partners as well as to our media outlets. Return on investment for the student, when they invest their dollars and what they're gonna earn, is a little bit north of 20% a year. And last year we would really appreciate that, and even this year, that's a really good return on investment. And I think that's why most of us are in this line of work. For taxpayers, it's also a very good return on investment. And then the social perspective, you won't get a return on, you won't get a rate of return, but what we do see is the benefit cost ratio. And you can see the benefit is almost $1 billion and the cost is 89 million. And so that's, in my world, that's a really good ROI. Next slide, please. And so these are some of the people groups, of course, that are reached out to, how it creates our values, which is our regional partners, our students, our taxpayers, and society as a whole. Next slide, please. One of the things that oftentimes is lost is 35 years ago, this was all just fields. It was all fields. Where we're sitting right now is all fields, grasslands, prairies. We still have an outdoor living laboratory, which is actually about, I would guess about 500 yards to our north and primarily to our east. And that's the picture you're getting there. But if you look in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see there's housing units there. And if we would probably take another snapshot in another year, there'll be even more construction. But this whole area is going up, but we protect this outdoor laboratory. It's very important to our math and science areas, as well as our student body, as they learn, and we integrate it into the campus. I'm going to show you a few slides on that because this makes us relatively unique. And that's why I'm sharing this information. one of the things that we do is we do a lot of work that help create low impact, but the development at work. That is, you can see in the upper right-hand corner, students taking their studies out there just on the campus property and applying what they're learning in the classroom right there in real life. And it gives those students the opportunity to have hands-on experience without having to travel any great distances, even though we're nestled here in a relatively urban area. Next slide, please. We also have a cross-country team. It began 2 years ago, and in its first 2 years, it has achieved enough success that it went to the national championships. The first year, the men ranked number 11 in the nation. This past year, number 5. And one of our students finished number 3 in the nation, and he is from Bentonville. And so many of our student athletes that are in the cross-country program are far and away from Northwest Arkansas. We provide an opportunity for them to experience and share in a passion they already have, but also do that here at the campus, as well as integrate their training and their work right on the campus property. Next slide, please. And of course, our work is always about restoring and creating conservation of our native wildlife and our vegetation. There's a few shots of it. Next slide, please. You can see that again. Next slide, please. And these are some of our partners that work with our living laboratory. And you can see this is not exhaustive, but it's a snapshot. Next slide, please. Another thing that often gets asked about is our trails school. Next slide, please. And you're going to see that our trails program here in Northwest Arkansas, you won't go very far without seeing lots and lots of trails for biking, for walking, for running. And with that trails program also requires maintenance on those trails. And so next year in the fall, we're going to be looking to launch, it'll be the first of its kind, a construction trails program here in Northwest Arkansas. And that is, of course, we would appreciate our philanthropic donors and supporters to help us make that particular dream a reality. But this is some of we'll be working with our partners. And this training will actually benefit not just Arkansas, but also we're actually receiving students that are as far as from Canada that want to come down to the training. Our hope is they'll come from Canada and they'll stay here in Arkansas, because we're looking at it as a way of importing talent, not having exportation. A little bit about the trails themselves. They just finished, they'll call it their MCAT training, MCAT testing. We had professionals from all over the world come in just a few weeks back. They're developing the test for construction trails technicians, and that is right now in the undertaking. That should be done later this year. We're also bringing forward, you'll see about 2/3 the way down the language trails. We'll be submitting 4 program proposals here to ADHE, and then we're going to host a youth construction camp later in the month of August, and it's again a partnership between the Association of Builders and Contractors here in Arkansas. Next slide, please. Another program that's a bit of a niche is our Brightwater program, culinary. And one of the things that oftentimes is not known is that the U.S. Olympic team does actually participate and compete in culinary. And they have 3 sites in the United States of America in which they train. We're one of them. And so right here in Northwest Arkansas, we train the U.S. Olympic team. And that's a picture of them in the lower left-hand corner. That's just a little bit about them. Please, next slide. And then the last item I'd like to speak to is the partnerships. Partnerships are really, really important. And this partnership here that we're illustrating is one with the undergraduate program that we work with the University of Arkansas. And so for Chancellor Robinson, he and I actually get to visit just about monthly right now. We take time, we visit, we just do a touch base, and we help each other. We talk about ways that our institutions can partner and work together. And then also at times, it's just a way of actually supporting each other, because we all know that these roles are quite lonely. And one of the partnerships here is in the area of within biology and also chemistry. And that partnership is allowing us to have students that are oftentimes dual enrolled between the 2 institutions, and they're allowed to have that research experience at a 2-year level that oftentimes they wouldn't experience until maybe much further down the line. And so thank you, Chancellor Robinson, University of Arkansas, for that partnership. And we look forward to many more coming in the future. Next slide, please. And then I can't help but always like the brand. And we're doing a really good job there of helping students recognize that we're here. The last thing I have to mention on this is Northwest Arkansas, the biggest change that I saw when I came here is that we have a lot of people that are moving in, also people moving out. Our net is about 40 people a day. So there's a lot of people coming into the space. They don't know we exist. So the importance of us sharing who we are and what we do is something we have to do all the time. You can't say I did it last year and people are going to remember. The people are different. People are different. And so a lot of the branding is really important for us. Next slide, please. And then finally, thank you. We are all better together. And so I want to thank the students, the employees, the donors, supporters, community and business leaders, our higher education partners, coordinating board, and all of our state agencies. We recognize that we have a big task ahead of us. And I'm reminded of that every day. I go to bed with that every night, thinking about how we can serve people better and what we can do in our part of the world to help make lives better. And so we do that together. And so thank you, members of the coordinating board. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, Mr. Commissioner, and all of our university and college partners. It's a big deal, and we're humbled by it. And so welcome to Northwest Arkansas. We hope you enjoy your time and recognize that we're always a friend here. If you ever want to see any of our facilities, you ever want to speak to any of our colleagues about things that we might be doing that you're looking to get into, we're just an email, phone call, or text away because we're in this together. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the few moments to share a little bit about the college. I'm just very fortunate I get to stand on the shoulders of giants. And my hope is that I hope make them proud too. So thank you.
Thank you again, Dr. Riddle. We really appreciate your hospitality this week. At this time, we're going to move to action agenda item number 1. That is the minutes of the April 4th, 2023 special meeting, April 27th, 2023 special meeting, and April 26th or April 28th regular meeting. These minutes begin on page 1-1 of your agenda book. Are there any questions or changes to these minutes?
To be accepted as presented. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. On to information agenda item number 2. Dr. Ken Warden will present his first commissioner's report.
Thank you, Chair Biggers. I just want to begin by thanking you and the members of the board for all that you do to move higher education forward in Arkansas and your dedication to this task. It's just a pleasure. I'm honored to serve alongside you as we do these things. I want to thank President Riddle for his hospitality for dinner last night, for welcoming us to your beautiful campus. Appreciate you and your staff and all the work you did to prepare for this and the hospitality you've extended to us. I also want to thank our ADHE staff. Having been in higher education in Arkansas for 20 plus years, I think this is the finest group that we've had at the department since I've been paying attention, and I want to appreciate them. I'm just blessed to work with such a capable group of individuals who come to work every day dedicated to serving our institutions. And it's just take the responsibility very, very seriously of enabling them to do the thing, give them the tools they need to do the things they need to do to serve our institutions and to serve our students, get their scholarships out on time. I want to thank Ms. Nicole Abernathy, particularly for all the work that she does, putting the board book together and coordinating this. She's certainly helped me a lot in these first 2 months. Been pretty fast and furious, I will say. In these first 60 days, I've been kind of digging in, getting into the mechanics of the operations and making sure that, again, that our folks have what they need to get the job done, trying to make sure that we double down on a culture of service in our institutions, servicing our students, trying to get out and about to the various, to see all of you, to see our campuses. I've committed to doing that. I know Nicole's working hard to help do that. Turns out you guys are fairly busy. You're not as easy to schedule as some audiences are, but we'll get there. We'll make sure we get out and make sure we see all of our campuses. And, each of our institutions are unique in their own right. And we have making sure that we shine the light on each of those for all the things they do to differentiate themselves and to move our state forward. Just a few updates. We have an institutional leadership change that we want to bring to your attention. That's happened since our last quarterly board meeting. Dr. Bentley Wallace, which I think I saw him earlier. I think he's with us this morning, has been appointed as the new chancellor at Arkansas State University at Mountain Home, effective August 1st. He is succeeding Dr. Robin Myers, who will retire on July 31st. Dr. Wallace was previously the president of South Arkansas College, but He's leaving that school in good hands with Dr. Stephanie Tully Dartes, who has been there since 2009. Dr. Tully Dartes has currently served as the VP for Academic Affairs and has been named as the interim president. So they're still in good hands. Another update I'd like to share with you is that the career of technical education, which serves the needs of a career in technical education in the K-12 arena under the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, has been realigned to the Division of Higher Education. Pretty excited about that. They've got some good folks over there. Ross White and his team lead these efforts. And so moving them to more closely align with the Division of Higher Ed will enable us to really model the expectations of the collaboration that we need between our K-12 institutions and our divisions of higher education. So there's a lot of good work to be done there, and I'm certainly excited to have them on board and look for new and creative ways that we better align elementary, secondary into the Division of Higher Ed. Quick update on financial aid. In 21-22, we distributed over $108 million to over 32,000 students. We don't have all the numbers back or the data for the 22-23 year, but early estimates indicate there's only going to be slight differences in these amounts. What you see in the chart represents all the scholarship applications we've received through SAMS, which is our scholarship application management system. A little clarification on those numbers. You see the 29,000 applications that are completed. In progress, 76,909. Those are duplicative numbers. Those aren't unique scholarship applicants. One applicant can apply for up to 5 scholarships. So that's why those numbers at first glance might seem a little bit skewed. The submitted applications are applications that some have been awarded that may have not been claimed or in the pipeline, or that people may not take advantage of or just have yet to claim yet. So again, $108 million, the completed applications, 29,000, and we expect to approach again up close to that 32,000 number. That's really all I have for you this morning. As we move forward, I think we've got a lot of good things coming in the Division of Higher Education, aligning with how we align with LEARNs, how we look to align with the Secretary of Leva's priorities and the governor's priorities. Really excited to serve all the people in this room and beyond. We, like I said, we are going to pride ourselves on service. So if there's anything that we can do to be a service to any of you, please don't hesitate to call.
Thank you, Dr. Warden. Any questions? Information agenda item number 3. Mr. Mason Campbell will present the report on faculty performance review.
Thank you, Chair Bigger. Arkansas Code and Arkansas Higher Coordinating Board policy require that each college and university conduct an annual performance review of faculty members. Our staff at ADHE are required to monitor that review process and make an annual report to the coordinating board and legislative council. These reports outline the various methods that institutions use to evaluate faculty performance, ways such as student evaluations, self-evaluations, peer reviews, and direct classroom observations. The reports also provide insight into the process, the supports, and the findings associated with the faculty performance review cycle. The expectation is that institutions will conduct a rigorous, consistently applied annual review of all faculty members. And just as it was demonstrated last year, institutions are doing great work in this area. So there's truly a substantial amount of information worth noting within the reports. I'll summarize just a couple of findings here. As always, institutions continue to implement training and faculty development for both new and ongoing faculty members. Over the last couple of years, a lot of notable increases in measuring performance in online and virtual environments. We didn't see as much of that this year, which just goes to show that those mechanisms that were developed over the last couple of years are in place and they're working well. A number of institutions called attention to their faculty members regularly collaborating with their peers across the state, across Arkansas, as well as nationally. There's a specific clause in policy that requires reporting on how well colleges of education are collaborating with accredited public schools, and all demonstrated or exceeded those expectations. Improvement plans and evaluations, if and when necessary, are detailed in the reports. And similarly, institutions recognized a great many honors and awards for outstanding faculty performance. So for the 22-23 academic year, all institutions have submitted reports to the division that describes the faculty review process, and those institutional reports are on file, and staff can provide copies upon request. This item is for informational purposes, and that concludes my report. Any questions? Do I
Do you
have?
have any questions at this time? Moving on to agenda item number 4, Mr. Bull will present the report on academic program review.
Thank you, Chair Bigger. Agenda item number 4, academic program review. Arkansas Code and Higher Ed Coordinating Board policy require review of academic programs through the establishment of a formal process to identifying programs not meeting the minimum standards of quality. So simply put, all programs must go through this process, all academic programs. Our standards are on a 7 to 10 year cycle, and institutions must submit schedules to academic affairs staff to ensure that all programs adhere to the timeline. Academic programs with program or discipline specific types of accreditation do not need to undergo a separate review or self-study to meet our standards. We'll accept those types of accreditations as they're equally or sometimes usually more stringent than an internal institutional self-study. Any academic programs without those program-specific accreditations must conduct an internal self-study with at least one external reviewer or consultant, and it must include a site visit. So sorry, I didn't progress the slide. This is what I spoke to. This is some of the common information provided in the self-studies submitted by institutions. And you'll note these elements are iterative in some of our other board policies, specifically our program proposal process. So this is a combination of a confirmation of the program's original promise to the board after it is approved. And this process and policy are very closely related to our academic program viability process. They're actually embedded within the same original board policy. So essentially, our program viability standards are a quantitative measurement of the health of an academic program, and our program review measures and policy are the qualitative measure of that health. So these are the program reviews collected for academic year 21 and 22. And again, these review schedules are created by the institutions and are self-imposed. And yes, sometimes those schedules change and get updated, and institutions are required to notify us when those schedules change. It's also sometimes intentional for an institution to schedule years where no program reviews are scheduled or expected, or low numbers are expected. So some of the low numbers could be intentional on this slide. And then, as you know, we took a hard look at program viability earlier this year, and the institutions and academic affairs staff really accomplished some pretty incredible goals in a short amount of time. And I would say that program review is next on our docket for a refresh and some new attention. So COVID-19 had a detrimental impact on many of the review schedules, basically shut down travel, site visits for about 2 years, and some institutions are still working on realigning their review schedules. It's also a continual challenge for some institutions to find and fund external reviewers for many of their programs. They get it done, but it's a challenge nonetheless. So moving forward, we plan to investigate a policy refresh. We'd likely put together an institutional advisory committee, and of course, any policy adjustments will be contingent upon board approval. We believe with a little bit of adjustment, a policy refresh could alleviate a lot of these challenges. An adjustment we can make effective immediately is the timeline to bring this report to the board. So as you know, we adjusted program viability from every 3 years to making it an annual report. And so we're going to do that with this report. It's slated to be delivered every 2 years. I will now also bring this report to the board annually. And then other developments we are working on include program review dates on the institution's official approved programs list. So that will bring more transparency to the entire process. So that concludes my report. Any questions?
Do we have any questions on this agenda item?
Thank you.
Moving forward at this time, I would like to present the report of the Finance Committee, which has recommended the approval of agenda items 5 through 7 this morning. Do I hear a second to approve agenda items 5 through 7 based on the Finance Committee's report?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And then the Academic Committee has reviewed items 15 and 16 and has recommended the approval of agenda items 8 through 14. Do I hear a second to approve agenda items 8 through 14 based on the Academic Committee's report? A second from Dr. Cash. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So at this time, we are going to open the floor up for public comments to any presidents and chancellors who wish to address the board this morning. Try and get out of here. Any comments? Quick announcement before we close the meeting. We are going to be putting a committee together before our next board meeting in October to do a review of the bylaws, just with the new administration and some legislative action. We want to make sure we're in compliance with everything. So I will be calling on a few of my colleagues to work on a review of the bylaws. Our next quarterly meeting will be October 27th at the University of Arkansas for Medical Sciences in Little Rock, and we will try to do a board training before that meeting as well. A last announcement, please make sure to grab a box lunch on your way out. Northwest Arkansas Community College has put together lunch for us, and please take advantage of that before you travel, and we hope that everyone travels home safely this afternoon. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you all.
Well, going back to Conway.